You must be Mary, Tom's wife. Please stay calm as I explain. Earlier, Tom.
The sudden call caught me completely off guard. I was told that my husband, Tom, had been in an accident on his way to work and was rushed to the hospital. It was a single-car accident caused while he was driving, and thankfully, there were no other victims. I hurried to the hospital immediately. As I waited for Tom to wake up after surgery, a doctor called me in. He led me to a small private room.
I have something important to discuss with you.
His serious expression was followed by words that shocked me to my core.
Go to the police immediately.
What? Why, what's this about? The doctor began explaining to me, seeing my confusion. As I listened, my face grew pale. The implications of what he revealed made me feel dizzy. But I steadied myself. There was no way I could overlook such wrongdoing. Besides, I had something I needed to protect. With renewed determination, I started to prepare for what lay ahead. Meanwhile, Tom, still unaware of anything, slept quietly in his hospital bed. My name is Mary, and I'm 37 years old. I live with my husband, Tom, who is 5 years older than me, and his 14-year-old daughter, Victoria. That said, Victoria is Tom's child from a previous marriage, and we're not related by blood. 3 years ago, I married him, a single dad at the time, and we became a family. His first wife passed away in a car accident 10 years ago. That same accident left Tom paralyzed from the waist down, and he has been using a wheelchair since. I work in the PR department of a trading company, and Tom is a freelance photographer. We met because he was a contractor taking photos for our company's website.
I may be in this chair, but my skills are top-notch. Also, I'm pretty agile, so I can shoot anything outdoors or in nature.
The day we exchanged business cards for the first time, he gave me a warm smile from his wheelchair, leaving a great impression. Despite his physical challenges, Tom works tirelessly and is passionate about his craft. I was drawn to his dedication, and he also grew fond of me.
Mary, you're such a kind and graceful woman. Having someone like you in our family would surely make Victoria feel secure.
Stop it. You're giving me too much credit.
Not at all. I'm serious about building a future with you. I know I have a child, but if you're okay with that, I'd like to date you with marriage in mind.
Those words made me incredibly happy. I had been told by a doctor that I couldn't have children. For someone like me, who dreamed of having a family with kids, the thought of becoming part of their family was beyond exciting. Gathering my courage, I accepted Tom's proposal. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and we got married. Even though it was a marriage involving a stepchild and a husband in a wheelchair, my parents were thrilled to have a grandchild and wholeheartedly supported our union. After our marriage, Tom remained as dedicated to his work as ever. He moved around skillfully in his wheelchair, honing his skills and taking on more assignments. Of course, there were aspects like bathing and dressing where he needed assistance. In such moments, I eagerly stepped in as his wife to help. However, Tom always made an effort to do as much as he could on his own. One day, he said to me,
Mary, I know you try to help me as much as you can, but you don't have to do so much. I want to maintain my independence and handle things myself.
You're right, I understand. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I just want to rely on you for things like running the household and taking care of Victoria. I appreciate you, especially since you're working too.
Tom's kind words made me smile, and I shook my head to assure him it was no trouble. I decided to focus on what he asked, taking care of the house and Victoria, while stepping back from providing too much physical assistance. Thus, our married life went smoothly. However, as the years passed, one particular concern of mine grew larger. Tom's daughter, Victoria, still hadn't warmed up to me. When we got married, Victoria was 11 years old. Now she's 14. Even after 3 years, it feels like she hasn't opened up to me. Maybe it's just because she's a teenager, but it still feels a bit lonely. I brought this up with Tom.
She's at a tough age, you know. Don't let it bother you too much.
Still, I really want to get closer to her. Hey, how about we go on a family trip sometime soon?
A family trip.
Tom let out a yawn mid-conversation. Lately, he's been paying less attention to what I say, and he didn't seem particularly interested in this idea either.
With work being so busy right now, it's hard to find the time. By the way, I'll be out on a business trip next weekend. I probably won't be back until Monday.
Another trip? You've been traveling a lot for shoots lately.
Yeah, the clients have been requesting more landscape photography. But honestly, I enjoy getting out, so I don't mind.
As Tom spoke, he enthusiastically prepared for his trip. While packing, he suddenly noticed some dust on the floor, and his brow furrowed.
Hey, the cleaning isn't up to par. Didn't I say you're in charge of the housework? You also forgot to take out the trash last week. You're slipping lately, aren't you?
I'm sorry. It's true that I've been busier with work recently, and I haven't been able to keep up with cleaning during the weekdays. For Tom, who's neat and particular, the idea of a dirty house is unacceptable. But I have a job too. Being expected to maintain perfect housekeeping was starting to feel overwhelming.
There's hair all over the floor, and the windows are filthy. Listen, if this isn't taken care of by the time I get back from my trip, I'll make Victoria do it.
All right. I'll get it done. Please don't say things like that. Whenever I show that I'm upset, Tom always brings up Victoria. Not wanting Victoria to bear the brunt of his frustration, I end up giving in. After we got married, I realized that Tom is somewhat strict with Victoria. Over the past 3 years, I've seen him demand housework from her as if it were completely normal. Here's something that happened early in our marriage.
Victoria, could you vacuum the living room? And also sweep the balcony.
Well, but I have plans with my friends today.
That can wait. Cleaning has to be done regularly, or dust piles up fast.
Seeing Tom trying to prioritize chores over her plans, I quickly stepped in. It's okay, I'll handle it. Victoria, you go and have fun with your friends. While I took over, Victoria left silently, her expression blank. She's a child who rarely smiles, almost as if she's resigned herself to something. During the 7 years between the passing of Tom's first wife and his marriage to me, I'm sure Victoria faced her share of hardships. It's understandable. She lost her mother, and her father was confined to a wheelchair. It's easy to imagine that Victoria had to take on some responsibilities during that time. Over the weekend, Tom left for his trip. I immediately got started on cleaning, gathering buckets, rags, and cleaning supplies. Just then, Victoria, who had woken up late, came down the stairs. Good morning. Your dad has already left for his trip.
Yeah.
Without returning my greeting, Victoria just stared at me. From her expression, it seemed like she realized I was cleaning. She let out a deep sigh and muttered,
You really go all out. It's like you're some kind of servant.
What? My heart skipped a beat. She had hit a nerve.
I'm heading to a friend's house to work on homework today. I won't need lunch.
Okay. Victoria quickly broke eye contact and walked into the kitchen for her late breakfast. The smell of toast filled the air as my heart continued to pound. A servant. maybe she's right. Since getting married, Tom's attitude toward me has slowly changed. The kind words he once used are gone, replaced by critiques about whether the housework is done properly. It's as if all he wanted from the start was someone who could handle household chores. But no, that can't be true. I shook my head to dismiss the thought. To distract myself, I threw myself into cleaning. The bathroom, sink, toilet, and bedroom all were on my list. Tom and I each had our own rooms and even slept separately. I entered Tom's room, which I was only allowed into for cleaning. As usual, it was meticulously organized. I vacuumed, sliding the nozzle under the bed. Suddenly, a loud noise startled me. It sounded like I'd vacuumed something large. Panicked, I pulled the vacuum nozzle out and checked what had been sucked up. I stared wide-eyed at the crumpled little piece of paper. What is this? It was a business card. The name of Jessica was written on it. Looking at the business name, it seemed like the kind of place with a questionable reputation. When I checked the address on the card, I realized it was a club located in the southern region, where Tom had been on a business trip last month. I quickly searched the club's name and address on my phone. As I suspected, it was a nightclub. Did Tom really go to a place like this? Well, maybe it's not unusual for a man. After all, the southern region was where he went on a business trip last month. But still, knowing how meticulous he is, I can't imagine him going to a place like this. Maybe it was just a work-related obligation. Still feeling unsure, I decided to keep the business card, just in case. A few days later, it was Monday. I was supposed to go to work, but I came down with a fever and had to stay home. After seeing Victoria off to school, I crawled into bed and fell into a deep sleep. Sometime later, I heard a noise at the front door. It seemed Tom had returned. Half asleep, I listened to the sound of him moving around the house. Unaware that I was home and resting, he started talking on the phone. In the quiet house, his voice carried clearly.
Yeah, I just got back home. You did great, Jessica. Thanks for your hard work.
The moment I heard the name Jessica, my eyes snapped open. Realizing he was talking to someone from that club, I couldn't help but strain to listen.
Yeah, I'll go again. Don't worry, Mary thinks it's just work. Yeah, she's like a great free maid.
It felt like a heavy blow to the head. Tom had just referred to me as a free maid. The love I had been worried he no longer felt for me came crashing down completely. Lying in bed, tears streamed down my face. That day, I couldn't bring myself to get out of bed until he left the house again in the afternoon. His terrible words overshadowed the fact that he was visiting a questionable club. I don't know if I can keep going anymore. Just as I began to feel this way, Tom mentioned that he'd be going to the southern region again for work.
Work's been really hectic. All right, I'm heading out. Make sure you keep the house clean, okay?
Yes. He didn't seem to notice at all how down I'd been lately. It was clear he no longer cared about me. Feeling utterly drained, I watched him leave. But just a few hours later, I received shocking news. It was from a paramedic at a large hospital in another city.
Mary, please stay calm as I explain. Your husband, Tom, was just involved in a car accident and has been rushed here.
What? Is that true? Overwhelmed, I listened as the paramedic explained the details. Apparently, Tom had been driving a rental car and caused a single vehicle accident. I couldn't believe it. I had never seen him drive before. A rental car? Are you sure? Tom uses a wheelchair. He shouldn't be able to drive at all.
A wheelchair?
The paramedic seemed confused as well. However, they quickly regained their composure and urged me to come to the hospital immediately. Could there have been some kind of mix-up? Maybe this is a case of mistaken identity. Hoping for that possibility, I went to the hospital, but it turned out the victim was indeed Tom. He had sustained a severe head injury and multiple injuries to his limbs. The doctor informed me that his condition was critical.
Excuse me, Mary. Could you come with me? I have something important to discuss.
A dignified doctor with a serious expression led me into a separate room. Once inside the narrow private room, I waited nervously for the doctor to speak. The words that came out of his mouth were so unexpected that I was completely stunned.
Go to the police immediately.
Startled by his intensity, I flinched. What? Why? Is it about the accident? I thought that had already been handled.
No, that's not it. Listen carefully and stay calm. Tom was never someone who needed a wheelchair.
What do you mean? The doctor explained that when Tom was found, there was no wheelchair anywhere near him. He had been driving using his own legs and caused a single car accident due to some issue. A physical examination revealed no signs that he had ever been paralyzed or unable to use his lower body. That's impossible. He's been living in a wheelchair for as long as I've known him. He even has a disability card.
It's likely that the card was fraudulently obtained.
Fraudulently obtained?
With a cooperating doctor, it can be done.
Though I couldn't imagine how such a thing was possible, the doctor's somber expression made it clear he believed what he was saying.
When I heard from the paramedic that you said Tom was wheelchair-bound, I grew suspicious and looked into the doctor who initially diagnosed him.
The doctor let out a deep sigh.
That doctor is someone I know as well, and he doesn't have a good reputation. To hold him accountable, I need you to report this to the police.
So that's why he told me to go to the police right away. A growing sense of unease gripped my chest. So, you're saying he's been pretending to be unable to walk this whole time?
It's a very real possibility. As someone who lived with him, didn't you ever notice anything strange?
His words made me reflect on my life with Tom. It was true that Tom often avoided letting me assist him physically. Whenever I tried to help, he would brush me off, as if saying it was unnecessary meddling. I had thought it was because of his desire for independence, but perhaps it was to keep me from discovering his deception. When I really thought about it, I started to question if it was even possible for someone who's supposedly paralyzed from the waist down to handle everything like using the bathroom or bathing completely on their own. I don't know much about medical or caregiving matters, so I couldn't find an answer. But then, a memory suddenly came to me, and I gasped softly. Now that I think about it, there was a time recently when I was bedridden, and he came home from being out. He must have thought I wasn't home. At that moment, I'm pretty sure I heard footsteps. How could I have forgotten something so important? That hazy memory from when I was feverish came back to me clearly. Yes, I remember now. I definitely heard someone walking down the hallway. There wasn't even the slightest sound of a wheelchair. Seeing my pale face, the doctor seemed convinced and nodded deeply.
If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. But Mary, you should start thinking about what to do moving forward.
I understand. My legs felt like they might give out. Can I really deal with something like this? I can't believe Tom might have been committing fraud all this time. But then another face flashed in my mind. It was Victoria. Does she know about this? I quickly began preparing to head home. When I peeked into Tom's hospital room, he was still fast asleep, oblivious to everything. His bandaged body looked pitiful. When I arrived home, Victoria was already there, having returned from school as instructed. Sitting in the living room, she looked worried. I reassured her that Tom was alive and stable.
That's good to hear.
For once, Victoria, who usually keeps her emotions hidden, showed her concern for her father. Feeling guilty, I asked her a direct question. Victoria, did you know that your dad can walk?
Yes, I've known. Since I was 4.
Victoria lowered her gaze.
Dad thought I didn't notice, but I did.
I guess that makes sense. It was probably all for financial benefits, like disability pensions or other aid. And by having me as a free housekeeper, he created a life of comfort for himself. All while oblivious to the psychological burden he was placing on his own daughter, Victoria, with his miserly schemes. However, I soon realized that the situation was even darker than I had imagined. After that, Victoria revealed an astonishing truth to me. As I listened to what she had to say, my body began trembling once again. Before I knew it, I was holding Victoria tightly, grateful for her courage in telling me the truth. My hands shook with a mixture of fear and anger, driven by the deep feelings I had for her. She had endured such a horrible life for so long. I have to protect her. No, I will protect her. At the hospital, I had been weak and shaken, but now, that hesitation was completely gone. I had something precious to protect, and that gave me strength. I decided to use the time while Tom was incapacitated to gather evidence. Using his work computer, I checked his travel expenses. Thanks to his meticulous habit of keeping receipts as a freelancer, I could easily see where he had stayed and when. Most of his trips were indeed to the southern region, and, unsurprisingly, I found receipts from the nightclub where his mistress worked. I couldn't believe he was bold enough to try and claim those as business expenses. I gathered everything and also hired a private investigator. Evidence of Tom's deception was quickly gathered.
We found it on the hotel security cameras. There's footage of Tom checking in. He's walking perfectly fine. I'll hand over all the data to you.
Thank you very much. The video also showed a woman with him. For the first time, I saw Tom standing upright. The person linking arms with him was a young woman who looked to be in her 20s. She had flashy clothes, styled hair, and a beautiful but arrogant-looking face. I immediately knew this was Jessica. I went to the club where she worked and confronted her directly.
What's this about? Calling me out like this all of a sudden?
Sorry, but I have some questions for you. Although Jessica responded with an air of annoyance, I pressed on, determined to get the information I needed. She confirmed everything without hesitation. Tom had been a regular at the club, never using a wheelchair, and the two of them had become romantically involved. She didn't even try to hide her role in their relationship.
So, you came to a place like this and now you want to sue for cheating and demand alimony? It's your fault for not keeping him under control. Don't start blaming me now.
You're right. I share some of the blame.
In that case, if you've asked what you needed, just leave already. Losing a regular customer hurts us too, you know.
Jessica clearly saw Tom as nothing more than a client. Her attitude, as if she had nothing to do with this anymore, filled me with frustration. I pretended to leave and stepped out of the club. Once I saw her retreat to the back, I re-entered. I had a feeling there was still something left to uncover in that place. With the evidence I desperately gathered in hand, I headed back to the hospital. Tom was already awake and had been told he would need to stay hospitalized for about 2 months. Thinking I was just there to bring him a change of clothes, he sat there, glaring resentfully at his immobilized legs.
I can't believe I got into another accident. Sure, I shouldn't have been distracted, but this is just bad luck.
As he tried to laugh off his situation, I spoke coldly. You're right. If you really can't walk anymore, you won't be able to go anywhere freely again.
That's true. Wait, what?
Tom glanced at me, his face twitching with alarm. He had finally noticed that my expression was completely different from usual.
Mary,
I know everything. About how you've been pretending to be paralyzed. The wheelchair, the inability to walk. It was all a lie.
what are you talking about?
As Tom tried to deny it, I stood up and said firmly, "Don't bother lying. With the help of a private investigator and the current doctors, I've uncovered all your misconduct. Even the doctor who wrote the fake diagnosis after your accident 10 years ago has been arrested after I reported it to the police.
What?
If you doubt me, take a look at this." I pulled out the article about the arrest of the doctor who had helped Tom and showed it to him, who still knew nothing. The doctor had been arrested for falsifying medical records. As Tom read the name and saw the familiar face in the article, his complexion turned visibly pale. That doctor issued false medical certificates to countless patients in exchange for kickbacks. Their crimes are coming to light one after another, and their prison sentence is getting longer. What a corrupt doctor.
I don't know anything about that. I have nothing to do with this doctor.
Don't lie. Your medical records were found at this doctor's hospital. They show when, where, and what kind of false diagnoses were written. The police investigated everything thoroughly. There's no way you can talk your way out of this. Tom stammered, his words faltering. His eyes darted around as if searching for an escape. But I wouldn't let him off the hook. Because I already knew he had done something far worse than just fraudulent claims. And that's not all. 10 years ago, you caused that car accident on purpose, didn't you? To collect on Emily's life insurance. I could see Tom gasp at my accusation.
What are you talking about? Stop joking around.
Tom gave a nervous, half-hearted laugh. But this nightmarish reality was, in fact, the truth. This isn't something you can brush off. The doctor who was arrested has already spilled everything. I guess he's given up and decided to take you down with him. He confessed that the car accident 10 years ago was a staged incident orchestrated by you. He even admitted that he taught you how to fake it.
What? That bastard.
I never wanted to know this horrifying truth either. But this heavy burden was something Victoria had been silently carrying all along. I recall the conversation I had with Victoria that day. As she told me about how she had known about Tom's deception, she also shared something else with me.
I think it's probably Dad's fault that Mom died in that accident.
What? Seeing my puzzled expression, Victoria continued.
I know that Dad caused the accident to get Mom's life insurance payout.
No. There's no way it could go that far. At first, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Somewhere deep down, I still wanted to believe that even Tom wasn't capable of such evil. But Victoria's anguished voice erased any doubts I had.
Mary, you don't believe me either?
It was the first time I had ever heard Victoria raise her voice like that. Her eyes were glistening. On the verge of tears, Victoria pleaded desperately.
When I was little, I overheard Dad talking to a young doctor. The doctor said something like, "It'll teach you how to make it look like an accident." I didn't understand what they were talking about, but I could tell it was something bad. I was so scared that I ran away. And then, a few months later, Mom had that accident.
I was speechless, overwhelmed by what she had just revealed.
I didn't understand it back then because I was so young, but now I do. As soon as Dad got Mom's life insurance money, he quit his office jobs and became the freelance photographer he'd always wanted to be. He sacrificed Mom's life for his dream. After everything that's happened, I'm still scared of him. I don't want to stay near him anymore.
Then Victoria pleaded with me.
Please help me, Mary.
Victoria. Before I realized it, I was holding her tightly. How could this happen? Has Victoria been living with this fear for the past 10 years? As I embraced her, Victoria hugged me back just as tightly. When I got married 3 years ago and joined the family, Victoria told me she felt a great sense of relief.
To be honest, I wanted to lean on you, Mary, because you seemed so kind. But part of me also wanted you to get away from Dad. That's why I was hoping you'd grow to dislike him quickly.
So that's why you were so distant with me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What a kind and strong child. Even though she must have wanted to run away herself, she was worried about someone like me, a stranger. Seeing Victoria's strength as a child, I felt ashamed of myself. Then, I made a firm decision. I'll never let Victoria cry again. I glared sharply at Tom. Now you understand the situation, don't you? I've brought the divorce papers. Sign them immediately. And I'll be taking custody of Victoria. Tom leaned forward in protest.
Why? Victoria is my daughter. How can someone like you, an outsider, take her from me?
You told me to take care of everything in the house, including Victoria. Since you're about to be arrested, it's my responsibility to look after her.
Arrested? Me?
Even at this point, he still couldn't grasp the reality of the situation, and I was dumbfounded by his ignorance. I had already reported Tom to the police. Initially, I thought his charges were just fraud, but after learning he was the mastermind behind a life insurance scheme, the police told me he was looking at a double-digit prison sentence.
That's a lie.
Unable to face reality, he directed his anger at me.
You! How dare you meddle like this? I made someone like you, a leftover nobody, my wife, and this is how you repay me?
So that's how you really feel.
That's right. After the money, I needed a housekeeper to do chores and take care of the kid. I figured someone quiet like you would be perfect to use for free. But you've turned against me.
Tom continued spouting vile, demeaning words. As I realized this was his true nature, the last remnants of any feelings I had for him completely disappeared. In the past, being insulted like this would have made me flinch. But now, I have something I must protect. I will not back down. Never. I'm glad I've seen your true nature. Now I can cut ties with you without a second thought.
Don't act tough.
Act tough? I mean every word. I utterly despise you, down to the core of my being. Tom faltered under my glare. He probably never imagined that the person he looked down on for so long would stand up to him with such determination. The tension in the hospital room was palpable. Then, someone entered the room. It was Victoria, who I had asked to wait outside. Hearing her step in after the heated exchange, I panicked. Victoria. I told you not to come in.
It's okay, Mary. I'm not a little kid anymore. But Dad, you truly are the worst kind of person.
Victoria's expression was icy. She must have overheard our conversation earlier. Tom's face paled as he turned to meet Victoria's gaze. And then, she delivered the final blow.
Dad, I'm done being your daughter. Give custody to Mary. I don't want to be the child of a criminal. And especially not the man who took my precious mom from me.
With that, Victoria glared sharply at Tom.
I hate you.
Victoria.
It must have been the accumulated resentment of 10 long years, during which Victoria was forced to endure so much during her precious childhood. Being abandoned even by his own flesh and blood daughter dealt a significant psychological blow to Tom. He slumped over in defeat, looking like a broken shell of a man. Now you understand, don't you? Sign the divorce papers. In a daze, Tom filled out the divorce forms I handed him. I packed my things and left him with these final words. The police will likely come with a warrant soon. Until then, I'll make sure you have everything you need for your hospital stay, so don't worry. Tom was set to be discharged soon. The police planned to take him into custody at that time. I put my arm around Victoria's shoulders and we walked out of the hospital room. Out in the quiet hallway, I let out a deep breath. You did so well, Victoria.
I only had the courage to speak up because you stood strong for me, Mary. Thank you so much, Mom.
The moment I heard the word Mom, for the first time, all the tension within me snapped. In front of Victoria, I couldn't help but let tears stream down my face. And just like that, our battle came to an end. That said, my life remained hectic with paperwork related to gaining custody. Tom was arrested immediately after being discharged from the hospital. As a suspect in both fraud and murder, he initially remained silent. However, when confronted with overwhelming evidence from the police, he confessed. The doctor who was arrested as an accomplice had kept audio recordings of his consultations with Tom.
I had no idea such recordings even existed. That bastard ruined me.
Tom confessed reluctantly, clearly bitter about the situation. The police speculated that the doctor had kept the recordings as leverage to blackmail Tom later. Crooks like them are endlessly greedy in their schemes. In the end, Tom received a heavy sentence of 20 years in prison. It also came to light that it was Jessica who introduced Tom to the corrupt doctor. When I went to her workplace, another nightclub employee discreetly shared this with me.
Jessica was infatuated with that doctor. She brought him wealthy clients who were willing to cheat the system for money. It's ridiculous. What does she get out of spoiling him like that?
Jessica had been used by the doctor was used by Tom, and Tom, in turn, was used by Jessica. The fact that both Victoria and Tom's late wife were dragged into this vile triangle filled me with anger. Jessica wasn't arrested, but the nightclub fired her. I made sure to sue her for damages.
What? You can't claim damages for having an affair with a nightclub client.
She seemed to genuinely believe that, but the law allows for claims if the affair involves a married person, even if the other party works in nightlife. With the help of my lawyer, I succeeded in obtaining compensation from Jessica. Both the man she loved and the man she used were arrested and imprisoned. What happened to Jessica, now jobless and without anyone to rely on, is something I will never know. 15 years later, I am 52 years old, and Victoria is now 29. Today is Victoria's wedding day. Under the bright blue sky, the two of us stand in front of the church doors, ready to walk down the aisle together.
I never imagined this day would come.
What? Mom, did you think I'd stay single forever?
No, that's not it.
Since then, Victoria has come to adore me as her mother and has grown into a beautiful, kind woman who smiles often. The 15 years I've spent with her have been truly precious. And now, this treasure of mine has found her soulmate and is about to embark on a new journey.
I'll always wish for your happiness. So will Emily.
Having two moms? I'm already so lucky.
The church bells rang out. The announcement for the bride's entrance echoed, and the doorman opened the doors with a warm smile. Together, Victoria and I took a slow step forward into the future. And behind us, I was certain that the spirit of her other mom was there as well, watching over us.